Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Regroup Show. I am your host, LJ Walker, a real estate investor helping you realize your dream of owning a home or investing in one. Today, I thought it would be most appropriate to talk about the real estate market during Trump's term in office from 2016 to 2020. Okay, let's begin. Number one, he set up an advisory council to monitor the infrastructure and real estate markets throughout the entire United States of America. Number two, one of the first laws that he did was he suspended the quarter percentage point premium rate on all FHA-backed loans. Unfortunately, this made it tougher for first-time homeowners to actually secure a home, and it actually made it more expensive. Next, the SEC changed the definition of an accredited investor. Before, and to a certain extent today, it's still based on your income or net worth, but they've expanded it to include those who have knowledge and expertise. So in other words, if you understand how to invest in real estate or even in, let's say, the stock market or some other type of investment vehicles that are out there, you may not necessarily have the income or net worth, but that will no longer stop you from participating in any investments. Okay. Next, Trump allowed for one to invest in as many properties as possible, or shall I say, to get mortgages. Now, I'll admit this. I'll let you know that there are some institutions that will put a limit to how many mortgages you have, meaning they may not give you another mortgage on top of what you already own. There was a law that Obama had before, but unfortunately I forgot what it was called, that did limit you, and Trump basically overturned that particular law. Next, Trump continued Obama's promise zones, only he renamed it opportunity zones, and he extended it to go to more cities across the country than what was under Obama's plan. Next, Trump changed the deduction for those who were homeowners, real estate investors, and small businesses. There were certain things that we were able to deduct in the past that we weren't able to deduct anymore. He also, particularly for homeowners, decreased the amount for the mortgage deduction. So we weren't getting as much as previously. Next, he increased taxes for those who lived in the states of New York, California, and Illinois. And that actually was when we began to see that there was a migration going on from those particular states to other nearby states. Next, due to the trade war that he initiated with China and to some extent Mexico, rehab costs went up. Why? Because most products are created in those two places. And in addition to that, what normally took a week or two to complete took months to complete when it came to doing gut rehabs and flips. Next, Trump cut the community block development grant. He cut basically how many grants were given out and how much was given out to various real estate developers, which is why when it comes to affordable housing, you don't see a whole lot of that. Okay. Next, Trump canceled the affirmative affordable housing law, which basically, to a certain extent, would have integrated affordable housing into suburban areas. Most real estate developers, I will tell you this, the affordable housing that they were going to do was really for mostly low middle income and the working poor. It was not going to be so much so where they were going to put a project in the middle of a suburban area. And most of them who were using that particular money in that area, they were actually using it to improve the infrastructure, not to necessarily do any type of integration. But anyway, needless to say, Trump has canceled that. Next, Trump rescinded on the rule for the Rural Housing Assistance Grant Program. Next, as many of you know, Trump admitted he did not believe, and I'm not sure if he believes it now, in global warming. So what he did do is he undid all of the environmental agreements that Obama had with other countries, also with certain institutions. He did away with all of that. Okay. In addition, he dismantled the committee that Obama had set up when it came to investigating the spread of viruses. Because if you go back in YouTube and you do a search, you will find that President Bush, mentioned that this country would not be able to handle a breakout of such magnitude, and we would need to somehow go about working on preventing that. And plans were put into place. I don't think Bush did too much, but Obama basically took up Bush's advice, and I believe that's why that committee was set up. And they had it under control to a certain extent, as far as controlling China, and because there's a particular area in China where these viruses actually happen. And there were mandates put into place to control it. When Trump got into office, he got rid of everything when it came on to that. So I don't blame Trump for creating the virus like some people do, but I do blame him for failing to stop it. In addition to that, when it was known that China had the virus and that China quarantined the whole country, I felt that all commercial transport, meaning airplanes, boats, there shouldn't have been any between China and the United States at that particular point. Then when it spread to other countries such as Italy, we still had planes going back and forth for a while. And I thought, well, that really was strange, because my company, and I know a number of others here in New York, we were told, as our employers told us, that if we were to go there, we needed to cancel, because if we went, when we came back, we would not have our jobs, because they did not want us to spread the virus to any of the other employees. So that's why I'm saying I don't understand why we still had flights and cruises going to those places during that particular time. I felt as though that should have been stopped, and it could have been stopped by the president. It wasn't stopped until much later on down the line, instead of earlier, if you will. Because of his failure to protect the United States from this virus, commercial real estate has gone down, particularly in New York. Okay, and I'll tell you why. When the virus hit New York and we were quarantined, many companies had to pivot, and either they had to make their employees work from home or they had to fire people. Okay, though being that we were working at home, our companies began to see, hey, wait a minute, work is being done. We're actually pretty efficient. We don't really need to go back physically into the office. Plus, we're saving money on light and water and other expenses. So they decided permanently, and it's not just my company, several companies have decided that people can permanently work from home. Now, my company, the building that we had maybe like 20, 25 floors. We're down to about 5 floors because our lease ended. And even though they renewed it, they didn't renew it for all of the floors. So that means that my company has saved a lot of money. And I know that other companies have done the same. We only have a few people who have to physically be in the office, just a few. And they've also said that whoever wants to go into the office can definitely go in. And they mentioned that we can, at some point, they're going to have it, like when this virus is over, for those who did not get their stuff to go to the office, get their stuff. And then we're going to just continue to work from home. So that's why I say that commercial real estate has definitely gone down. Another thing is that a lot of companies, they didn't have any money in reserves, or if they had money in reserves, they didn't have that much. So now those companies are no longer in business. There is no place, no retail place or any other office space for them to rent. So again, the commercial real estate business has been hit pretty hard, especially in New York. I know that other states, such as Missouri, it hasn't been hit as bad. Businesses are still open. People are still working. They modified how they work, though, so that is still something to keep in mind. Next, again, due to the virus, we had to have a foreclosure moratorium, which has now ended. The rent moratorium is still on until December 31st for right now. We don't know if they're going to extend the rent moratorium or not, or if they're going to reinitiate the foreclosure moratorium at all. Now, here's the thing. This has definitely hurt small landlords. Many of them have lost their properties or are currently going to lose their properties. You see, there's a backlog of foreclosed properties that are going to be going to court. Okay, so that's the issue. And what's going to happen is once that landlord loses the property, the tenants will only be able to stay in the property according to federal law for 90 days. You see, back in 2009, President Obama signed the Protecting Tenants at Foreclosure Act law, which says that if a property is foreclosed on, the tenant can stay at least until the end of the lease, and if they're a month-to-month tenant, they would be entitled to stay 90 days without having to move out. All right? Now, the law stopped in 2014. I believe it was reversed by a Republican. Well, not one Republican, because you know how things are. They vote on it, so it's a number of Republicans. President Trump, luckily, reenacted that back in 2018. So that would have been before the virus came back. That law has been reenacted. However, whatever state or city has employed that state or city's law may overrule this federal law. Definitely check this out and verify this with your lawyer. But I know that in New York, from what I've been reading, you would have to evict every single tenant. So let's say a landlord owns a 20-unit building and they did not finish paying off that mortgage. The bank will foreclose on them. And in New York, the bank would also have to evict every single tenant. In other states, that's not necessarily the case. In other states, they would have to stay till the end of the lease, or if it's a month to month, they can stay an extra 90 days. Okay? So just verify and clear that up, and we never know when that might change again. But that's basically what Trump has done. He reenacted that particular law that Obama had created back in 2009 that was canceled in 2014. Okay, next, moving along. Because unemployment rose so high, the federal government decided to lower interest rates, right? Again, due to the virus, the supply of homes is kind of low. Why? Because you had people who wanted to sell their homes, but now they're afraid that whoever wants to buy it may come in with the virus and they'll contract it. A lot of sellers, of course, they're selling their home virtually, those who have to leave and have no choice, right? The other thing that I've noticed is that in some places, construction has actually halted or it's slowed down again due to the virus. Okay. And as far as prices on homes, some markets, the homes have decreased because the demand is low. And in other markets, the value of homes have increased, again, because of the demand. And I would say New York, California, and Illinois are the places where the demand has decreased somewhat. So because of that, it may be a little bit cheaper and easier to buy property there, right? Another thing that happened, not to say that it is necessarily Trump's fault, but another reason why a demand is high is because a lot of people who live together realize after being with each other for so long in the same place that they shouldn't be together. So that is also driving up the demand for housing in America as we speak right now. So guys, that's basically it of my list of what Trump has done that has affected the real estate market in the United States of America. There are some pros and there are some cons. I have mixed feelings about this. And at this point, I'm not sure, since we still don't have all of the ballots counted at the time that I am recording this video, I am not too positive or hopeful if he is reelected. But either way, I am okay. I know that I have my plan and I have my strategy in place in case he does get 4 more years or in case Biden comes into play. Because to be quite honest, all in all, no matter what laws are put into place by the president, the real estate market is still driven by demand. Okay, so guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Please feel free to share this amongst your friends. Remember, each one, reach one, teach one. Bye for now. Until next time, have a good night.